In a year that has been an absolute dumpster fire, it's been nice to take some solace in the fact that there have been some kick-ass video games released this year for us to play, enjoy, and take part in. So that's what we're doing here, guys. We are counting down my top 10 games of the year, along with a few honorable mentions. Let's take a look. All right, so here are the rules, and I will admit that I lifted these wholeheartedly from Dan Larson over at Toy Galaxy. The game has to have been released in 2020. That's the rule. Now, there is some wiggle room, of course. If something was released in the last week or two of 2019, I would have allowed it to move forward, but there wasn't really anything that caught my eye from late in 2019 that I wanted to bring forward. Guys, make sure you check the subscribe button down below. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you hit that button and ring the notification bell. And if you watch this video and you disagree with what my top 10 are, let me know in the comments down below what your top 10 is. Now, let's dive on into the honorable mentions and our top 10 games of the year. All right, guys, so here are our honorable mentions for the years. Now, these are going to be kind of quick fire. So up first is Mario 3D All-Stars, a collection of games that I love, but it just did not quite break into the top 10. Watch Dogs Legion is really good. It's a really fun game, and it's finally the version of Watch Dogs that we were promised when the first one released, but it's still got a lot of the same problems that the original Watch Dogs games had as well, so it doesn't quite get there. Part-Time UFO on the Switch is a fantastic eShop title, and it is a wonderful little puzzler. Wingspan on PC is great, and it drops for the Switch in like a week, and I cannot wait to get it. It is a fantastic card game. I strongly suggest you pick it up. I love Star Wars Squadrons. I think it is a wonderful game, but it is not deep enough for me to move it into the top 10. It's still a little shallow. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore is fantastic. In most years, it probably would have made it into the top 10, but guys, there are some absolutely massive RPGs on this list that just knock it way out. Prinny 1 and 2 is a game set in the Disgaea universe, so if you've played those RPGs, be sure to check out this platformer where you have a limited time and only 1,000 lives to complete your task. And you're going to need all 1,000 because the game is very difficult. And finally, probably the biggest game of the year that I loved right up to the point I didn't, and that's Animal Crossing New Horizons. The game kind of became a chore, so I stopped playing it, but I still love it. I could not include it on this list. Avengers, for me personally, has been an absolutely excellent experience. Whether it's been the solid single-player campaign that I'm slowly making my way through, finding collectibles and gear and getting the feel for each hero, to the brilliant writing and the copious amounts of costumes each character has, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with the game. One of the big problems that the game ran into was that people saw it get announced and immediately equated this to being a game based on the MCU. And when Crystal Dynamics had the audacity to make their own universe, people were pissed. They didn't like the look, they didn't like the playstyle, and didn't care for anything without even giving it the time of day. But when you stop and look at what's presented, the game delivers. It promised a fun single-player campaign and multiplayer combat, and it gave us that in spades. There's been some hiccups along the way, to be sure. Things took longer than expected to get the first DLC chapter, Taking Aim, out, but when it did come out, players got free story content and a new hero. You're also able to unlock everything in the game without spending any real money, something people have been clamoring for years in games like this. But somehow, they ignore it with Avengers. It's receiving discounts deeply this holiday season, and you would be foolish to pass it up, because I think you would have a lot of fun with it. I know I have. I'd never played a Xenoblade game before trying out Xenoblade Chronicles 2 when it first launched. I gotta be honest, I was not impressed. The game just didn't click for me. So with some trepidation, I trusted my friend Chris, who told me I should check out Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition when it released this year. Man, I am so happy I did, because this game is everything that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 isn't. Primarily, it's actually fun, which is a huge win. Xenoblade actually takes the time to establish a lore and a story at the opening of the game and make you care about the characters from jump, which is completely opposite of what I experienced in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And while I know this is a re-release of a game, the experience is entirely new to me, and I think the remaster warrants an entry on this list. There's 70 plus hours of gameplay alone just in the main quest, and when you toss in the side quests and everything else in the game, you're looking at over 120 hours of enjoyment. There's a depth beyond it just being a long game that needs to be recognized here as well, with characters in the game being fully realized and completely enjoyable. With an absolutely fantastic look, wonderful music, and a deep gameplay experience, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition has been an absolute joy to play this year. When I first saw the Red Lantern preview in an Indies Direct, I was immediately curious about it and needed to know more. As someone who bought Into the Long Dark when it was still in pre-release on Steam, I was intrigued by the idea of a sled dog game with you against the elements. And with its release this year, I'm happy to say I'm not in the least bit disappointed by it. The story of the Red Lantern is absolutely fantastic and presented in such a careful way that even when you fail at the game, you're not punished. You're put on a path forward with knowledge gained and survival skills attained. The dogs are all lovely and have their own unique personalities, with different abilities for each based on those personalities. The protagonist of the game, the Sledder, is fantastic, and you really find yourself just emotionally invested in who the character is. It's incredibly easy to get lost in this game, not while playing it, but by finding yourself transfixed by the beauty of this imagined version of the Alaskan wilderness, as well as considering the resources you need to manage, alongside quick-thinking decisions for events that pop up during the game. I think the best way to describe this game is that it's an on-rails roguelite. Things change every time you play it, but for the most part, it's very straightforward, with simple controls and easy-to-grasp gameplay. Much like the rest of the gaming community, I was shocked when I saw that Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was both going to be a continuation and prequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But I gotta be honest, as someone who wasn't a huge fan of the original Hyrule Warriors, I didn't expect a terribly deep or enjoyable game. I've never been so happy to be surprised by a game because this game is incredibly deep, and there's a ton happening under the hood. Resources are paramount to your success, allowing you to cook and upgrade weapons. You collect these throughout the game when you destroy boxes or defeat enemies. Combat in the game maintains aspects of what was established in Breath of the Wild, giving you access to your different Sheikah rune powers like Stasis, Cryonis, or the Remote Bomb. And the cast of characters is massive. It includes Link, Zelda, Impa, and the Divine Beast champions Urbosa, Daruk, Rivali, and Mipha, among many others. As much as I like the game, the main thing keeping this from a higher spot on the list is its myriad of performance issues. Slowdown happens pretty regularly in handheld mode, and it's almost unplayable for multiplayer. I'm hopeful that we're going to get a patch down the road to clean this up, though. The lore and story that's laid out by this game are absolutely fantastic, however, and I urge you, if you are a fan of Zelda Breath of the Wild, to check out Age of Calamity. It's a wonderful game. At the start of the year, I had never heard of the Legends of Heroes series. So when Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 Extracurricular Edition popped up in my suggested for you feed on Amazon, I figured it was going to be something I'd look at and immediately bypass. Boy howdy was I wrong. Cold Steel 3 is a seriously deep game, with over 150 hours of gameplay to complete the entirety of the game between the main quest and all the extras. And along the way, you're treated to an incredibly fun JRPG experience. The game has you play as an instructor, the Ashen Chevalier, a hero to the Empire who is, essentially, just a kid himself. You're tasked with leading Class 7, a group of students basically being trained as the Special Forces from the Thor's Branch campus. The game has traditional turn-based combat where you can reposition yourself around the arena, as well as utilizing Unite attacks to execute massive damage against your opponents. It's 100% JRPG goodness, and with a compelling story and a serious dose of wit thrown in, it's something I have had an absolute metric ton of fun with. And if you've never played the first two, there's even a way to catch up on the story from the start menu. It teaches you about the events from the first two games. Still, I do hope we see the first two games in the series released in the States, because we've had them announced as a duo pack in Asia. With so many great games released this year, it was very difficult for me to determine my top 5. I had always been really interested in the Persona series, but beyond playing my friend Gene's copy of Persona 3 a few times, I never really took the time to get into it. But last year I decided to finally dive in, and I picked up Persona 5 at my local GameStop. Literally the next day, Persona 5 Royal was announced. So what I decided to do instead was take that copy of Persona 5 back and trade it in for the Phantom Thieves edition. I wasn't going to play the vanilla when I could play the Royal release and have the definitive version in front of me. And man alive, was it worth that extra 6-month wait. While it took about an hour into the game to really hook me, everything that happened in that first hour that I was kind of annoyed by and didn't really enjoy, set up so much set dressing and establishing shots to be imperative to the overall story and deep and rich in lore that's added to my overall experience. There's so much happening in this world and in this game, but it's not a game that hides behind story to kind of just ignore the gameplay and let you go through it. No, it's got super solid JRPG mechanics and combat systems in play here. So beyond those mechanics, it's got an absolutely mind-blowing and engaging story, likable characters, and a fantastic voice cast. It's really the total package. But to me, the most impressive thing in the game is the artistic style of it all. Sure, the characters and enemies all look incredible, but it's the use of color in the game that really just does it for me. This is a gorgeous experience in every sense of the phrase. Fall Guys was initially described to me by John Riggs as MXC the game, which, if you have never seen the brilliant and ridiculous Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, go do so on Amazon Prime right now. Come back to the video in 20 minutes after you watch an episode. And while Fall Guys is most assuredly influenced by MXC, it's honestly a blend of literally every physical challenge type of game show. From Double Dare to Wipeout to Hole in the Wall to Ninja Warrior to, yes, Takeshi's Castle. It's a massive collection of ridiculous and challenging games with a truly impressive physics engine to play. The games range from the annoying, like Season 3's Penguin Pursuit, or the absolutely infuriating Fall Ball, I really don't like the team games, to the sublime, like Fruit Shoot, Freezy Peak, or Whirligig. The game is the perfect type of battle royale. It's the kind that when you're in and having a blast, and when you're out, you're eagerly waiting to see what you unlocked on the results screen so you can equip your new goodies in order to get back into the game. And like I mentioned in passing, Mediatonic is doing a series of seasons, where each season has a different theme. So far, we've had the vanilla Fall Guys experience, Medieval Insanity, and now a winter and ice themed game complete with slidey physics. I hate slidey physics in other games, but I love them in Fall Guys. You guys had to know that Shantae and the Seven Sirens is going to be in my top 3, right? I mean, I love so much about this game. From the gorgeous animation, the fantastic character design, the insane intro movie and all of the sub-scene movies throughout the game, wonderful music, and absolutely wonderful Metroidvania gameplay, Seven Sirens is WayForward's best work. I mean, I've liked this game so much, I've bought it twice, once digitally and once physically through Limited Run. It's a truly incredible gameplay experience, taking a very lighthearted approach to platforming and putting its own unique spin on how the game plays. It never takes itself too seriously, which I love. The game looks and plays like a living cartoon. Who could ask for anything more? With a huge cast of characters, a myriad of abilities, tons of upgrades, memorable bosses and enemies, and spectacular scenery every way you look, Shantae and the Seven Sirens is nearly perfect. I'm a sucker for single-player PlayStation experiences. I think that the PlayStation brand is probably the one most known for solid single-player games. Whether it's games like Uncharted or Horizon Zero Dawn, I enjoy them and I want more of them in my life. So when Ghost of Tsushima from Sucker Punch was announced and released, I was on board. And the experience I've had so far with the game exceeds every expectation I could have had for its release. Visually, the game is stunning. It pushes my PS4 Pro to its absolute limits, but it's so worth it. The story is a masterwork of emotional nuance. The gameplay, perfectly executed. Your mission on the island of Tsushima is deep and engaging, and as you advance through the game, more of the island unlocks, and more abilities and outfits unlock as you play. But where the game truly triumphs is what I said first. It's a perfect single-player story, full of familial bond, revenge, doubt, and ultimately self-discovery. The game is a masterpiece, and can easily take its place amongst my favorites of Uncharted 4, Spider-Man, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and Horizon Zero Dawn. In fact, I would probably say that Ghost of Tsushima is the best of all of them. I honestly didn't expect an independent title to be my #1 game of the year when I first started spitballing ideas for this list at the start of the summer. But when Hades released, I knew this was going to be nearly impossible for anything to beat it. Coupling a huge cast of characters from the legends of Greek mythology with outstanding gameplay, Hades captivated me the second I booted it up, and it has become my go-to game for all occasions. Occupying the spaces of both, I've got 10 minutes to play, and I've got 4 hours to really try and sink into this game and get through the underworld as many times as possible. I've played for over 45 hours on this game, and never once have I felt like the game has run its course, or have I felt like it's not enjoyable. The art style is stunning, the music fantastic, and the voice acting superlative. It is hard for me to find flaw with the game. The parts I haven't enjoyed can be supplanted by utilizing a different weapon or by fixing your loadout and ability upgrades. And all of this is even before we get to the fact that the game features a mountain of lore to uncover and discover. And every time you play the game, it's going to be different given its roguelite nature. The game is the gift that keeps on giving and is by far my game of the year. There we have it. Hades, game of the year. The thing I've gotten the most enjoyment out of this year, and something that I honestly just think is a masterpiece of a game. Now, I'm fully prepared to accept that people are going to have a different opinion than me, and that's fine. If you're not into roguelites, Hades isn't going to ring your bell, and that's okay. But like I said earlier, let me know down below what your favorite game of the year is and why I should check it out. I'm always looking for new stuff to play, and I would love to add things into my collection that you think is great. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, please consider giving it a thumbs up down below. Lets us know that you enjoy the kind of content we're putting out. And while you're there, if you haven't done so already, make sure you click that subscription button and ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything we've got going on. Until next time, guys, I have been Jay. I am wishing you a very happy holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. And if you don't, happy holidays to you, and I hope you have a blessed season. And as always, guys, I am reminding you to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.